Hey everyone, my name is Lucy. I'm 43 years old and right now I am a single mother. Allow me to tell you how I got here because the journey was an emotional roller coaster. Let me start with a little background information on me. I was born to a pretty well-off family. While I wasn't extremely rich, I never really struggled with anything growing up. I had no loans in my name because my parents were able to provide everything for me. I grew accustomed to that kind of financial stability, which is why I made sure to look out for a financially stable partner. Even though I wanted a partner, it wasn't something I sought out. After graduating college, I worked hard to create a career for myself. I found myself in a very successful place a couple of years later. I invested a lot of my money in various stocks, and over time, those only grew. I had my father teach me how to manage my finances well, which allowed me to make very smart decisions. To put it simply, by the time I was 27, I was more than financially stable. I knew that with all my smart investments and financial decisions, I could very well retire at the age of 30. It was at the age of 29 that I met my now ex-husband, Seth. I had met him through a dating app. We had matched, and after a couple of weeks of conversations through texts, I realized that we had a lot in common. We set up a date and it went so well that we had 10 more in the following 2 months. We realized that we really liked each other and that we wanted to take the relationship a little further, so we started dating each other. We dated for about 2 years before deciding that we wanted to spend the rest of our lives together. I loved Seth because he was super loving and kind-hearted. I also loved how hard-working he was. He was a man who knew where his priorities lay and always worked towards achieving all his goals. Before we decided that we wanted to get married, we sat down one day and compared bank statements and talked about our spending habits. I quickly realized how financially stable Seth was. I knew that Seth was doing well financially because he would often take me to fancy restaurants or places, and he would foot the entire bill. But to look at his bank statements showed me just how well he was doing financially. All my criteria for a partner had been met. I knew that he was the man of my dreams then. We got married shortly after getting engaged. The wedding was a pretty big deal. I felt incredibly proud to marry the man of my dreams in front of everyone that I loved and cared about. 1 year into our marriage, I decided that I wanted to start a family. I sat down with Seth after dinner. I told him that I had something weighing on my mind that I needed to talk to him about. Babe, there's something on my mind that I've been wanting to talk to you about.
Is everything okay?
Don't worry, everything's fine. It's just I've been thinking a lot lately about, starting a family?
Really? I've been thinking about that too. I mean, we've built a stable life together and it seems like the next step.
You have? That's amazing to hear. I'm glad we're on the same page. But there's something else I've been thinking about regarding this.
What is it?
Well, if we're going to have children, I want to be a stay-at-home mother.
Oh, that's unexpected. Why do you want that?
Growing up, my parents were always busy working and I missed spending time with them. I don't want our kids to feel that way. I think having at least one of us stay at home and take care of them could make a huge difference. Plus, I want to be there for them and create a strong bond. I don't mind quitting my job, especially since you make more money than me and we're financially secure.
That's something I hadn't considered, but I see your point. Quality time with our kids is important and it makes sense given how we both grew up. If we can make it work financially, I'm open to the idea.
Really? That's great to hear. I'm looking forward to building a family with you.
Me too, Lucy. It's a big step, but I'm ready to embrace it with you.
After that, we started trying for a baby. It took us another 6 months to get pregnant. The pregnancy was hard on me for the first 4 months, but eventually I got used to it and it got bearable. I gave birth to a perfectly healthy baby girl. Seth and I were overwhelmed with love and pride when we saw our baby girl. The next few years were very taxing on us. We spent countless nights awake, taking care of the baby. But what I was more than grateful for was how Seth stepped up and took his share of parenting seriously. At least that was the case in the first year. Along with taking care of the child, Seth also worked really hard at work, which got him promoted to a very high position. This high position meant that he was a lot more busy, so he had to choose between prioritizing work and taking care of his child. Obviously, he didn't want to make that choice. I could see the toll it was taking on Seth. He had lost a good amount of weight and his eyes had permanent bags under them. He was a lot more irritable and spent a lot of his free time sleeping. As a result of the strain that Seth was feeling, our relationship also suffered. I felt very neglected and I felt like Seth and I never truly spent any time together. I understood his stress, so I approached him with an offer one day. While the two of us were enjoying a cup of coffee in the morning, I talked to him. "Hey babe, how are you feeling lately?"
I'm good, why?
"No, really. How have you been feeling? I can tell something's been bothering you."
Oh, alright, fine. I've been tired and really stressed. Juggling work and taking care of the baby is overwhelming.
"I understand. It's just we barely get to spend time together anymore."
Sorry, I can't split myself into 3. Work, baby, and you. I can't divide my time equally between them.
Calm down. I'm not blaming you. I want to discuss this for a reason.
Sorry, I shouldn't have snapped. Go on.
I think you need to focus more on your job and I'll take care of the baby. This way you won't burn out and we won't have a cranky and tired dad around.
That's true. I get what you're saying.
I'm glad you understand. And don't worry, I'm not trying to pile all the responsibilities on me. I know you'll still help out when you can.
Thanks for being considerate, but really, thank you for looking out for me. It means a lot.
Of course, Seth. We're in this together and I want us to both thrive.
I appreciate that, Lucy. Let's find a balance that works for us and our family.
And so our arrangement went. Seth spent a lot more time working, and every weekend he would take over the household chores and baby care so I could take a break. This arrangement worked for a good 2 years. Then I got pregnant again and I had a lovely baby boy. This child was a lot more fussy than our first, so it was even more tiring for me. Seth refused to help out a little more. As a result, I was burning out. One day I was beyond overwhelmed because I had spent the entire night awake tending to the baby. And then the morning was spent taking care of our first child. By the time Seth returned home in the evening, I was ready to take a relaxing bath and pass out. I had asked Seth if he could look after our second child just for that night, but Seth got angry with me. "Babe, I'm really exhausted today. Could you please help out with the baby just for tonight?"
We agreed on how things would work, and I'm not going to change that.
"I've had an incredibly tiring and stressful day. I'm asking for your help just for one night."
All right, well, you get to relax at home all day. I'm working hard. I deserve to relax when I'm home.
Not just sitting around all day. Being a stay-at-home mum is a job too. Who do you think feeds and bathes the kids? Who cleans the house and makes sure you're taken care of?
That's your duty as a mother, not a job. You wanted this, so deal with it.
I was beyond mad at that point. I went and locked myself in our room. I cried for a while as the tiredness of the past few months settled in. I couldn't believe the way Seth was treating me. I never asked too much of him. All I was asking for was a little help with our kids. In my desperation and tiredness, I called my mother. When my mother answered the phone, she was greeted by me sobbing. My mother panicked and asked me if everything was okay.
Sweetie, what's wrong? Is everything okay? I'm completely burnt out. I can't handle everything on my own anymore. Burnt out? Why isn't Seth helping you more? Seth says he's already working hard and doesn't want to help with the kids. I didn't even want to burden him too much, but tonight he refused to help at all. What? That's not right. You both are parents and partners. He should be there for you. I know, Mum, but he told me it's not his job and that it's mine. That's absolutely unacceptable. You deserve better than this treatment. Tonight, you rest. I'll come over and help with the grandkids.
Thank you, Mum.
I really needed this. I'm sorry for making you go through all this.
Sweetheart, I'll always be there for you and your children. You're not alone in this. When my mother arrived at my home, Seth was surprised to see her. He greeted her, but my mother just ignored him and walked past him to see me. She greeted me with a hug and told me to go take a bath and then sleep. I thanked her profusely, but she shushed me and led me to the bathroom. That night, I finally got a full night's sleep. I woke up feeling fully rested. I was glad that I saw my mother sleeping too. The baby must have been good that night. Seth slept in the guest bedroom that night. I saw him at the breakfast table in the morning. Seth continued talking to me as if nothing had happened that night. I was angry on the inside, but I decided to let it go and hope that Seth realized his mistake and changed. Unfortunately, things only got worse after that. Seth only got more absent. He began working on weekends too. I was beyond tired. No matter how many times I approached Seth about the way he was avoiding his responsibilities of being a father and husband, he never seemed to listen to me. He would mockingly tell me to call my mother instead of asking him for help. I was hurt and upset. How could the man I loved treat me this way? How could he treat his own kids this way? Our kids barely knew their father because he spent all the time working. Since he was away all the time, he would give me an allowance to run the house and take care of the kids. More often than not, the allowance wouldn't be enough. I had to fight tooth and nail to get more from Seth. He would always complain that I was eating away his money. One day, I couldn't take it anymore. You keep saying it, but what do you mean by your money? It's not just yours, it's our family's. I'm the one working hard for it. I have every right to decide where it goes. But by that logic, the kids are only mine because I'm the one taking care of them, right? If you see it that way, it's not a problem for me. They're just a burden anyway. How can you say that? They drain my account and strain our relationship. It's the truth. How can you be so heartless? How can you say that about our own children? Look at my colleagues and their partners both working. Do you know the luxury they live in? This was a decision we made together. You agreed I'd be a stay-at-home mum. I felt pressured to agree. I didn't have a choice. So this is how you truly feel? If I knew you'd be like this, I wouldn't have wanted a family. I don't want to talk about it anymore. No, we need to sort this out. You can't just avoid it. Are you really sure you want to know how I feel? Yes, Seth, I do. We can't continue like this. Seth then walked over to his wardrobe and pulled out a bunch of papers and threw it at my face. I was surprised and just managed to catch the papers before they hit me in the face. I glared at Seth for throwing it at me before deciding to take a look at what the papers were. My eyes widened and my world crumbled as I read the contents of the papers. They were divorce papers. I looked up at Seth in shock. What does this mean? Are you blind and stupid? I'm tired of you. I deserve better than a stay-at-home mother, a life of luxury. How can you even think that? I'm the reason our children are here. Oh, I'll take care of the kids, no problem, but you're a waste of money and time. I sobbed. Seth left me in our bedroom that way. I cried myself to sleep that night. The next morning I rushed through taking care of the kids. Once Seth was out of the house, I called my mother. I asked her to come over urgently. My mother was over at my place in half an hour. She looked very concerned when she saw what a mess I looked like. My eyes were swollen and red from all the crying. My mother asked me if everything was okay. Lucy, dear, what happened? You sound upset. Seth asked for a divorce because he thinks I'm worthless for being a stay-at-home mum. What? How dare he look down on you for that? How does he think he's been surviving so long? Who does he think did his laundry and fed him all these years? It hurts, Mum. I feel so degraded by him. Listen to me, Lucy. Do you have a plan? You and the kids need to be taken care of. I think I can manage for a couple of years until I find a job and make more investments. Sweetheart, you have more than you think.
Your grandfather set up a trust fund and I'm the trustee. I can help you access it. I originally wanted to wait until your kids were in college so you and Seth would be fully set, but I think you'll need it a lot more now. Really? He's still alive. How can you do that? Yes, I have the authority to decide when to distribute the assets. Your well-being matters more. Thank you, Mum. You have no idea how much this means to me. Don't let Seth walk all over you. Fight for what you deserve in this divorce. I will. I'm going to get the best lawyer, fight for full custody of the kids, and make sure Seth realizes his mistakes. That's my girl. We'll make sure he learns his lesson and faces the consequences of his actions. My dad's best friend, Mr. Johnson, was a lawyer who specializes in divorce cases. With his guidance, I embarked on the daunting journey of the court case against Seth. The day of the trial arrived, and my heart raced with anxiety and determination. Seth seemed smug, thinking he had the upper hand and that he would see me struggle, but as the courtroom door swung open, his confidence faltered. I had secured a lawyer from a highly reputed firm, a name that carried weight in legal circles. As the proceedings began, Seth's jaw dropped when he saw my formidable lawyer walk in. His smugness turned to disbelief, and suddenly the tables had turned. The lawyer I had chosen radiated professionalism and experience, and I felt a glimmer of hope. Throughout the trial, my lawyer skillfully presented evidence of Seth's neglect and lack of support. My heart swelled with gratitude as my dad's friend, Mr. Johnson, delivered compelling arguments on my behalf. As the truth unfolded, Seth's facade crumbled. His arrogance melted away as he realized the strength of my defense. There was one more thing I had managed to do. You see, I had mentioned in passing to my father the name of the company that Seth was working for. My father looked surprised. He told me that he knew the CEO of the company because they had done minor business deals together. He arranged a meeting with the CEO of Seth's company and mentioned subtly about Seth's behavior. The CEO was disgusted by Seth's behavior and promised my dad that he would take care of Seth. As a result, Seth ended up being let go for behavior that went against the company's ethics. Plus, the CEO was well aware of my father's social standing, and if the company didn't do anything to Seth, my family and I could choose to talk publicly about Seth. This would then reflect negatively on the company, so they chose to let him go. That's how, in the middle of the trial, Seth lost his job. This only made it easier for me to fight against Seth. I was granted full custody of the kids, and Seth was ordered to pay child support when he found another job. I was overjoyed with the verdict. After the verdict was declared, Seth angrily approached me. "How did you borrow from your parents to afford that expensive attorney and get full custody?" "Borrowed? Seth, you've got it all wrong. The reason I wanted to be a stay-at-home mother was because of my investments. I've been able to build up enough wealth to support us, and guess what? My grandfather set up a trust fund for me with a lot of assets and money. I'm financially secure enough to provide the best life for our kids without any worries." "You've been robbing me all these years." "Robbing you? Seriously, Seth? How do you think I paid for my share of the bills and took care of the house when you weren't providing enough money? Did you think my parents were footing the bill? And regardless of the money, it's your responsibility as a father and husband to take care of your family. You promised to do your part, especially when I was doing more than my share. But when things got tough, you walked away. You're going to face the consequences now." "I thought you had help from your parents." "That doesn't excuse you from your responsibilities, Seth. You made promises and you left when things got difficult. You can't just use my financial situation as an excuse for your behavior. You're going to have to face the consequences of your choices, just like I've had to face them for years." In the aftermath of the trial, my life took a new turn. With full custody of my children and the support of my family, I was determined to create a better life for us. The trust fund my grandfather had set up proved to be a lifeline, giving me the financial stability to provide for my children without worrying about their future. As Seth struggled to find a new job after his dismissal, the reality of his actions began to set in. His once smug behavior was replaced with the weight of his choices. Losing his job and facing the consequences of his behavior made him realize the depth of his mistakes. Over time,
I found my footing as a single mother. With the freedom that financial independence brought, I was able to pursue my passions and interests while still being there for my children. They thrived under my care, and I revelled in the quality time we spent together, building memories and bonds that were stronger than ever. Seth's journey, on the other hand, was a difficult one. He struggled with his own demons, facing the isolation and regret that came with his decisions. The contrast between our lives was evident. While I continued to grow and flourish, he grappled with the consequences of his actions.